Every new Mythic Plus season, the same story plays out. People are fired up, ready to grind, pushing high IO, climbing the ranks, and yet most of them at some point will hit a wall. And it's not because they lack individual skill, but because I think they're missing something that's way more important than that. It's not about how well you play, it's about who you connect with. Now, don't get me wrong, knowing your class does matter, but over the last few seasons, I've learned that your network, the people that you build friendships with, the ones that you grow alongside, will take you a hell of a lot further than any amount of individual skill growth. I do think people are somewhat aware of this, but I think even the people that do know this tend to go about it the wrong way. So in this video, I'm going to break that all down. I'll walk through how I went from bricking keys on my own for multiple seasons in a row to building a network of like-minded players, and most importantly, the steps that you can take as a player to build your own supportive and positive Mythic Plus pushing community, because I guess, like they say, apes together strong. I guess before we dive into my own story, I just wanted to touch on something that I see and hear at the start of every single season. The patch begins, heaps of people tell me, I'm going to push for title this season, or I'm going to go really high this season. And usually they do start really strong. They grind in LFG, build IO really quickly, and then all of a sudden they hit a wall. Suddenly they're sitting in queue for hours, or they list up a group that says something along the lines of LF push team. And when that doesn't get any traction, their momentum fades and the motivation disappears. And I guess the truth is, pushing high keys is hard, especially when you've never really done it before. I think we've all had that pug experience, right? Where you spend hours applying for every group that you can find. You might get into the odd group here and there, only for it to brick on the first pull. And then if you're playing off meta or even just a DPS role, it's even worse. Community's got a pretty rigid perception of what's good and what isn't. So ultimately, you spend a great deal of time with not a whole lot to show for it. It's exhausting, it's demotivating, and honestly, I think I was stuck in that cycle for a very long time. Eventually, though, I learned a lesson that I wish I had learnt a hell of a lot earlier. Mythic Plus is not just about playing well yourself, it's about building a network. Having people around you that you trust, that you've run with before, and that you enjoy playing with. So let me walk you through how this all changed for me and some steps that you can take to hopefully follow along a similar path. So here's a bit of my story. I didn't really start taking Mythic Plus seriously until midway through Dragonflight. Back in Season 2, I slogged my way through LFG, made a few BattleNet friends along the way, and eventually finished the season at 3.2k, which was a fair chunk lower than the current title. Season 3, I pushed a fair bit harder, still mostly pugging, still refreshing LFG and Veldraken for hours, making the occasional connection still, but I eventually did hit that wall again. I burnt out a couple of months before the end of the season at 3.5k. You know, I'd had a couple of weekends in a row where I'd played for hours and hours and literally gotten no IO. And honestly, I think that's a fairly typical experience of a lot of people. You know, you might add a few players on BattleNet, join a few Discords, maybe run with the same group once or twice, but it never really sticks. You just sort of hit that invisible wall where your score won't go up and you sort of have no way of reaching out to other people to try and push yourself up higher. So come Season 1 of War Within, I sort of tried to change my approach to this a little bit. So for this season, I made a conscious effort to build actual connections. If I ran with people that I vibed with and I thought were good, I added them. But more than that, I made a conscious effort to follow up with these players. If I ended up in a Discord with people that I enjoyed playing with, then I stuck around. I would chat in the open comms server. I sort of follow the general chat, watch other people do keys if they were streaming it through Discord or live on Twitch. More or less just trying to involve myself a little bit more within these groups. And I think this is really important too, because the higher you climb, the less players there actually are, which means that you get into this sort of position where everyone kind of knows everyone to some extent. And if it's not already obvious from my accent, I'm Australian, so I play on OCE Ping, which makes the active pool of players even smaller for me compared to other players. So midway through the season, I found myself into a larger Discord with a lot of the higher end OC players. and started running keys with them. I was hanging out in comms a lot, just really enjoying the community. And lo and behold, that was the first season that I got title, playing a spec that I realistically was not even all that good at. I didn't have a fixed team, but I come across a lot of familiar faces and played with a lot of the same players on a regular basis. And beyond that, also enjoyed the process a lot more than I had done in the past. Also, when it came down to the final push, a couple of absolute legends, shout out to Danny and Stimmy, helped me across the line. And since then, that network has snowballed. So this current season that's just finishing up, I've played with the same regular team for most of the season. I have still maintained contact with a lot of the people that I played with last season, still hanging out in the same Discord, going into different chats, just sort of like actively being involved with the player base. And as a result, I think the experience of pushing keys has not only been more successful than it has been in the past, but I've had a lot more fun doing it because you start to feel like you're, I guess, part of a bigger community, which, like, we do play an MMO, which should be the main objective, really. So this has not only helped me improve, but it's made the game way more enjoyable. I genuinely feel like I'm part of a friendly, like-minded community of players. And yeah, sure, my gameplay abilities have improved a bit. I feel like I'm playing better this season than I have done in the past, but honestly, I don't think it's changed that drastically. But what has changed is the amount and the quality of the connections that I've made with other players along the way. But let's talk about how to actually build a network, because I think knowing a lot of different people and being comfortable running with them regularly creates an environment where everyone can grow and learn and enjoy the game together. But I think, like, this is the sort of thing that you might be sitting here going like, yeah, that sounds great, but like, I've tried to make connections and it never really works, or I've added people on BNet and I've joined Discords and it just doesn't really go anywhere. I was sort of like that for a while as well. I get it, but there are a few key things that I think people generally miss when trying to turn those sort of surface connections into actual online friendships with other players. So the first is follow up with players that you've already run with. This is a big one. You might be out there slogging away in LFG and you add someone on Battle.net, maybe join their Discord, and then you never speak again. Like, weeks later, that same player might put their key up in LFG and you'll apply, and the experience that the other person will get is like, who even is this guy? Simply adding someone on Battle.net and never really speaking to them again is not how you build a network. So here's what I recommend instead. If you're running a key, reach out to these players that you've added on Battle.net and ask if they want to run the key. Maybe if you see that their score has climbed, send them a message and say, hey, you timed this key, that's awesome. If they're in a Discord, join comms, just have a bit of a chit chat if it's appropriate to do so. Not everybody's going to be keen on building these sorts of connections, but that's fine, because some will be, and over time you'll build up a network of familiar faces that you enjoy playing with. That doesn't just provide value for you pushing keys, it also, I guess, provides a sense of connection, so it makes the whole process a lot more enjoyable as well. The second thing I'd like to mention is to be kind to other players. Like, World of Warcraft is a hard game. Keys brick, people make mistakes. That's just sort of how it goes. Especially when you get into higher keys, you might only time 10 to 20% of the keys. Bricking keys is a very common thing. So I guess the thing to keep in mind is be the sort of person that you yourself would want to play with. I don't mean that you need to go in and like fake a really positive or upbeat sort of vibe or anything like that, but more so, if you're frustrated, don't take it out on the people that you're playing with. If someone else is toxic to you as well, they're the sort of person that you don't want to keep in the circle. I guess you're trying to build a friendly group or collection of players that you enjoy playing with and that you can all support each other. So I think the first step there is, be kind to others. We all make mistakes. This game is hard. So, I guess understanding that, just sort of rolling with the punches is the recommendation that I would give here. And the third piece of advice I have is probably the biggest one as well. And it's to use Discord, but also to use Discord correctly. You know, whether you try to make your own sort of public server and invite players in, or whether you join other servers, try to actively engage in communities that you identify as sort of vibing with your own sort of style, instead of just showing up when you have a key to run. You know, hang out, watch other people stream their Mythic Plus runs, cheer them on, just be part of the space. If someone's streaming on Twitch, drop in and say hello. Their wins are your wins. So it's about community, not just individual accomplishment. Now, I know that joining voice chats with random strangers can be pretty anxiety inducing. Like, I get it. I'm autistic. Random social pressures stress me out a lot. So here's my advice. You know, when you join a new server, just come in, say hello. If you're feeling up to it and you can see a gap in the conversation, you can have a bit of a casual chat. But, you know, if you're feeling like a little bit nervous around a new group of people, just sit there and maybe just calm things that are really important. You don't have to be the life of the party. You can ease your way into it and become more comfortable as time goes on. And I guess as you're going about this, just remember that everyone makes mistakes. Like, even the absolute best players in the world will miss kicks or mess up their ability rotations or miss stops or miscom something. Like, the further you climb, the harder the game gets and the more punishing these very small errors actually become. If someone's raging at you for those sort of mistakes, they're not worth your time. That's not the community that you want to build. However, on the flip side, if someone gives you constructive feedback, or if you make a mistake and you're in comms with these people, it's okay to take it on board. Just don't take it personally. Like, it's not a personal attack. I guess we're all trying to improve at the game, and I think it's really easy to sort of feel like you're being attacked as a person if you're told that you've done something wrong. But yeah, I guess ultimately a strong Mythic Plus network just isn't just about like throwing out sort of friend requests willy-nilly and hoping that they stick. It's about, you know, showing up, being present, identifying players that are at a similar level to you and similarly, you know, positively approaching the game and want to learn and grow together, and then creating a space from that of like-minded people that you can grow alongside, basically. So in saying all that, I guess here's my challenge to you, or to anyone who's watching. If you're serious about pushing Mythic Plus content, start making some real connections. It can be awkward, it can be really anxiety inducing, but I think the payoff of finding positive, like-minded players to push keys alongside far outweighs any negatives that might arise. And it also ends up being the thing that can push us past that pug wall that I think everybody runs into at some point. You know, you might run into a few toxic players along the way. That's sort of inevitable, but I think the payoff is massive, not only from your own growth as a player, but also creating a very like supportive, community-oriented group around you. It makes the whole process not only more effective in terms of like actually timing more keys, but it makes it a hell of a lot more enjoyable at the same time as well. On that note, I want to give a shout out to all of the Oceanic Mythic Plus community, all of the boys that I played with for this season and last season, the Discord server that I mentioned earlier. It's honestly, alongside pushing to higher levels of content, which has been very enjoyable, it's been really nice to feel like I've been part of a supportive, like-minded community. The game has been far more enjoyable over the last 6 to 12 months as a result of the community vibes that all of the people that I've come in contact with, both mostly Oceanic, but also some of the NA guys that I sort of happen across over time. The game has become, I guess, what it was originally intended to be, a community-oriented MMO, right? So I guess to any of the OC boys that are listening, or any of the NA boys that have come across me over the past 12 months, Thank you. I've honestly never felt a community connection quite like the one that I've got now, and I am absolutely loving it. But yeah, in short, get yourself out there, join some Discord communities, add people on Battle.net, try to build and forge real connections with other people. It will make World of Warcraft and Mythic Plus as a whole more enjoyable, and will also take you to higher levels than you can get to alone. This is a community focused game. We can't do this content without other people around us. So making sure that we're forging a really solid network around us, I think, is the most important thing that we can do. I hope this video was helpful to some people out there. If you like this kind of content, feel free to drop a like and subscribe. I'm planning on doing a lot more Mythic Plus content over the foreseeable future. I have also got plans to do a weekly sort of Mythic Plus news style podcasty thing where I just talk about like the goings on week to week. If you have anything that you think you'd be interested in seeing me cover in this sort of format of video, just let me know in the comments below. I also stream on Twitch. I'll put links somewhere around here. Come say hi. Really like hanging out with people, building community. But yeah, otherwise, thanks for watching, and until next time, gamers, take care.